the session for today. So before we start, let me introduce you to Nikita ma'am. Nikita ma'am works with the developer relation team at Google as a community manager for GDG and GDG Cloud program in India. She's passionate about Flutter. Nikita ma'am mentors the Flutter communities in India as well as write blogs in her free time. She speaks at different events and can make round dosas as perfect as her animation in Flutter. So, first of all, thank you so much, Nikita ma'am, for joining us. And yes, we can start with the session.
Okay, great. So thank you so much, Abhishek, for the warm introduction and inviting me today for the session. I know that Flutter Valsad was recently started, so not many of you are friends over here, but say a hi in the chat section so that and put some introduction about yourself so that you have an opportunity to know more about each other, make friends while we also have some interesting conversations around animations in Flutter. Um, my first question to all of you here is how many of you are Flutter developers?
Hello.
Yes, hi Aaron.
Hi. Good afternoon to everyone. So I'm a Flutter developer. I came across the framework as soon as it was released in 2017, actually, and I've been working on it in the start of 2018. And ever since working on it, I have fallen in love with the framework, and I have literally learned it so much so that actually applied to Google with the sole intention of trying to get on the Flutter team. I got two chances while applying to Google, but never made it through the last round. I didn't get through. And ever since I've learned Flutter, I've made four applications, out of which two of them are launched. The other two were like for trials. I've never gotten a chance to like learn Flutter from someone else as such. I've always learned it through the docs, and I think the documentation of Flutter is amazing. One of the best documentations I've ever come across. I think React doesn't also have that good amount of documentation. So yeah, I have like four applications to my name, and I just have fallen in love with the framework. To be honest, I think that's amazing from Google.
Yeah, well said. So let me just add some background about my experience with Flutter. So I joined Google last year, that is in 2019, and I joined the Google AI team as a part of development of engineering education resources for university students in machine learning domain. And now I work with the developer relations team. I basically manage GDG and GDG Cloud program in India. I don't know how many of you here have heard about GDGs or have participated in events that GDGs organize. But GDG is a brand-driven community, which basically is driven by local organizers, and organizers plan different types of activities to meet the needs of their developer ecosystem. So these activities could be sessions like these. It could be workshops. It could be code labs, or some study jams that they do. I manage a team of 50 GDGs in India. So there are like almost 200 organizers that directly report to me, and I manage that team. Uh, Before joining Google, that is in 2019, and before that, I was running my own startups, and I was also working with different startups as a mobile app developer and also a web developer. While I was set on a project for Android application development, I did not like it much. Basically, that was because of the Gradle issues that were coming in and again. And it was taking a lot of time, and we were given some deadlines. And I always wondered if there was a way to make this application development faster. So then I thought, okay, we have to develop a website. We also have to develop a mobile application for the same. Can we try something like web views where we can just put in a single line of code and integrate the website inside the app itself? But then it came with its own drawbacks. The reason being, a website cannot be run with similar experiences when you're trying to make it just mobile friendly. So responsiveness was becoming a challenge. Then I thought of exploring different technologies, or if there were any existing templates that could be reused and that saves our time of development. So I came across React Native that time, and I tried it for a couple of days. I really started enjoying it. At the same time, as I said, I was running my own startup and I had some ideas in mind. And you know how ideas at startups work, right? You have that in mind and you just want to take it as fast as you can in the market. So then I was like working on React Native to build some solutions, or some potential, uh, like something as a minimum viable product, a MVP that I can pitch to my clients and see how their reaction is. While I was doing all of this, my co-founder, who was basically the CTO of our startup, he came up with something like Flutter, and he said it's much better. And there is where both of us started debating which is better, Flutter or React Native, and we started actually getting into the details of how each of them work. And believe me or not, one of our talks at GDG Pune was around Flutter versus React Native. This was a debate that we did live in front of 200 people, sharing our opinions on what works and what really doesn't. And that debate got so interesting, like so many people enjoyed it, that after the event as well, the debate continued and my interest with Flutter grew. Then this is where I started doing more with Flutter. I got invited to FlutterCon, Flutter Interact, Flutter Live, and all of these events even before I joined Google. So I started doing a lot of workshops around Flutter, because the more you give, the more you get. I believe in this theory, and that's how I continued working on Flutter. Then when I joined Google, initially days were difficult because my job took a lot of time and I couldn't do much with Flutter. So then I decided what else can I do, how I can contribute is, then I contributed to 6 code labs, which you see on the Flutter website. So 6 of them I recently contributed to. And then I also support the Flutter communities in India. As of now, we have 15 of them, and I also support those. All of this is not a part of my job role, but I really enjoy working with Flutter, so that's why I contribute to these things. I also write blogs in my free time, so not many, but 10, 11 of them are live on Medium. In case you'd like to have a look at it, Nikita Gandhi is my Medium link, Nikita with a double K. So, in case you're interested to see my work on Flutter, that's another place where you can find more information. And apart from that, I keep doing talks like these to keep my interest with Flutter going. So I'm really excited to speak to you more about Flutter today. And yeah, without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so coming back to the question, how many of you have worked on Flutter in the past? Or is there someone who has never tried Flutter and raise your hands if, or just put in the chat section if you haven't tried or worked with Flutter before. Okay, let me just roll through the chat section. And first to Flutter, okay. Okay. Okay, cool. No worries. We have someone who haven't tried Flutter before. Okay, there are a few more folks. Okay. So my basic expectations from these session is we can take all the questions once I finish, completing the explanation, so that we just maintain that fluent communication. But in case there's something that pricks your mind, put them right away in the chat section, and I can come to those as I finish. As I finish explaining a few concepts to you. Second thing is, let me just clarify two things to you before we speak about animations in Flutter. One is widgets. That is something that you really need to know to understand animations in Flutter. And second is state management in Flutter that you need to understand before we talk more about animations in Flutter. Okay, so anyone here who's working on Flutter and would like to explain what are widgets in Flutter, or you want me to do the honors? Anyone here who'd like to answer what are widgets in Flutter?
Hi, hi, my name is Renuka. I think everything is widget in Flutter, right?
Correct, correct.
Yes.
Yes, you're right. Anyone else would like to take this question? Yes, Abhishek, why not?
So we can say that a widget is a UI component which you would be placing onto your app. Like let's just say that if you are from web development background, then the button tag you are using is completely a widget in Flutter.
Correct. Yeah. Anyone else would like to answer? Okay. Someone said very well, widgets are like Lego blocks. So everything that you see on your screen is widgets, right? From buttons to text to images to anything and everything that you see on the screen, it's widget. So like Renuka said, everything is widget in Flutter. That's what they commonly say, and that's the tagline about Flutter. Like Abhishek said, buttons and other things that are displayed in the UI is a part of Flutter. And yeah, I can see more interesting answers coming up. But yeah, Flutter widgets are the building blocks of the application. Widgets are like Lego blocks, like Aditya said. So yeah, nice. Next concept is state management. This is like a deep topic or deep discussion, which may take another session. But just to summarize, what is state management in Flutter? An application can be static or dynamic. So what the static application means is with the user interaction, nothing on the screen changes. But say you click on a button and the UI changes, this is a part of state management. So an app can be stateful or stateless. So what is stateful? Which means if the UI or the widget tree is changing as the user interacts with the app, then it is a stateful application. But if the app or the widget tree is not changing with user interaction, then it's a stateless widget. Did this clarify or make sense to all of you? Okay. So animations, we'll see a lot of examples of stateful widget because you'll see a lot of changes happening on the screen. So that is why animations will mostly use stateful widgets. I'll present my screens. I have very few slides. We'll mostly talk about code. But let me share a few things with you to get started with animations in Flutter with the help of a few slides. Okay, give me one more. Okay, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, so I think I introduced myself. Now you all know me better. Okay, so what do you see on the screen?
Jerry running.
Jerry is running. Okay. What else do you see on the screen? Yeah, an illusion. Okay. What else? Frames being looped, an illusion, animation. Okay. So motion is an illusion, is what the title says. It's a lie. So what you're seeing actually is many still images which are shown in quick succession. Have you seen those books where you flip through pages and you see a nice a video kind of thing that is created? Maybe if you've seen Tare Zameen Par movie, you would have seen this where you know uh, a boy who's like playing with his mom, and that emotional scene that comes up in that movie. So what is that? That's an illusion. What exactly happens is, from one page to another, different drawings are being changed, right? So this is a but what you felt was, it was a single frame or a video where you saw different things moving on and changing. So, and this is how it works in movies. So, what happens is, many still images move quickly, 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 and this is how the illusion is created for your eyes. This is how actually movies also work. So, the individual pictures are like basically called frames in cinemas. Do you know that thing that they show, that they use in the movie recording, that thing like frame one, cut one, that thing? So those are what individual frames that they collect, and then they put frames one after the another in a sequence that is more meaningful, and that is how you see the entire movie. And this is how it works in the digital screens as well. They are also called frames in the digital world. So normally in movies, it is 24 frames per second, which is shown. Modern digital devices show 60 to 120 frames per second. So, so if I say that motion is an illusion or it is a lie, then have you heard about something like animation foo or foo transition widgets? So say, have you heard about animation container or slide transition? Have you heard about this in the past? So what are they actually doing? Because if you had to like change static images in Flutter to create animation, these frames are actually like 60 to 120 frames are changed per second. Can you imagine how many static images you're showing in such a small amount of time? So in this small amount of time, so many frames are generated, which means every time you put a new picture, a new widget tree is generated. And do you think it's possible to create a new widget tree every time a new picture comes in? Because the speed at which animations work in Flutter is 60 to 120 frames per second. And trust me, this illusion is for real. That's how powerful animations in Flutter are, that they can they can rebuild the widget tree entirely every time the new images are supposed to be loaded. Uh, did I make sense to all of you till now? And are we okay to move on to the next slide?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. So, what are animations? We've all enjoyed animated movies in the past. We've enjoyed the Tom and Jerry show thoroughly. That's what our childhood is made up of. What are these animations? And why did we enjoy them so much? Walt Disney shows, why did we enjoy them so much? I'm sure many of us still enjoy watching those Tom and Jerry shows or Popeye the Sailor Man shows and whatnot. So why do we really enjoy these shows? So what usually is funny? Yes. Why do we think it's funny? Is because this illusion is for real in our minds. We actually thought those characters are real in front of our eyes when we saw them on television. As kids, we always believe that everything that's running on the screen happens for real, right? Uh, and the UI. So why we thought it was real is because of the UI, the images which were there. We thought they are actually real. So Tom and Jerry, we actually thought Tom was a cat. We really believed in that, and Jerry was a mouse. So that is how we imagined stuff to be, and that illusion was there in front of us. So when animations are well designed, it makes the UI feel more intuitive and contribute to the look of the app. It makes it look more polished and improves the user experience. So in terms of an application, if you add animations, for example, say I were to move from one screen to another, and there is a slight transition that comes in between that makes me feel that, oh, I actually moved to a new screen, instead of a dull transition where I'm just clicking on the app to understand if I actually moved to a new screen, unless the new UI tree was loaded on that. I wouldn't realize that the transition had happened, right? So this is why animations are important, and Flutter makes it really easy to implement animations. A lot of widgets come with inbuilt animations. So all the material widgets which are there, they come with inbuilt animations, and so it has like standard motion effects and their design specifications and stuff like that. So it's also possible to customize these effects, and that's how you can make your app look more lively and interactive. Cool. So, summarizing on the slides, three things why animations are required in your applications. One is making your UI feel more intuitive so that the audience understands and interacts and it becomes more lively and engaging. The improved look of applications. Obviously, we all prefer video over images and simple text. Why? Because we want to add interaction. And the user experience. So the experience that a user would get with the animations that you add is going to be much more better than a simple app without animations. So choosing the right approach. So how many of you have ideas on what animations would you like to implement as a developer? And how many of you fall in the category where, you don't have anything in your mind, but you're looking for some ideas as of now? Okay, regardless, you belong to category 1 or 2, I'm sure I have content for both. So don't worry if you don't have any ideas, I still have something interesting for all of you. Okay, so there are a lot of widgets which is provided and are like already existing in the Flutter package that you download. So you don't have to do much, but use these widgets directly because they come up with a lot of parameters that you can customize as a developer and add life to your application. So containers, what are containers? Container is a widget which is like, say, a rectangle or a place. So containers, like just in English language, what do you mean by containers? Is a place which can be used to store something, right? You can add animation to it by just replacing the container widget by animated container. You can add opacity to opacity widget. So what will opacity widget do is add transparency to the given application. So you can animate that transparency, like changing the grade of opacity. That animation can be shown. You can add some timing or duration to it. You can add some padding to the padding widget by adding some more animations to it and stuff like that. So these widgets automatically derive new properties with set values and provide new value to these widgets. So automatically the new properties which come along with these widgets are taken care of, and these new values are basically set to the existing widgets. So there are basically two types of animations looking at a very high level. So the concept today that I'm going to use to explain you animations is, first I'll talk about the high level overview, and then we are going to drill down to understand more about animations. So there are two types of animations. One is code-based animation and other is basically drawing-based animations. On the screen, which one is code-based animation to you? Is it the one on the left or the one on the right? Left is what? Code-based animation. Okay. Right is code. Okay. Left, right, left, right, left, right. Okay. Interesting. So I'm going to clarify which one is the code-based animation and which one is drawing-based animation. Before that, let me tell you what are code-based animations. So code-based animations are like widget focused and are rooted in the standard layout and style primitives. So they are like rows, columns, and all of these are like widgets. And to this, you can like add animation value. So that doesn't make the animations boring. So if you add animations to a row or a column, it doesn't make your animation look boring. Or the animation that you see on the left side of the screen, maybe you find that more interesting because there are so many frames that are being loaded per second. But that doesn't mean that you add some animation to columns or rows or widget and they are boring. But simply like they can enhance the appearance of the application, and rather they don't act as a stand-alone widget. But what are drawing-based animations is they look like someone drew them. So they are often like stand-alone spirits, like say a game character or transformations that could be challenging to express. So say you wanted to show an animation where say it was like Pikachu, and you wanted to show that Pikachu is like running around for something, fighting for something. It's going to be difficult to describe that using a code, and you need a designer who can basically give you these images, these vectors, so that you can use that as a image directly in your application rather than writing that as a code, right? But in widgets like simply rows and columns or containers which are inbuilt, you can add some functionality to it and make the animation go live. So that's the difference between code-based animation and drawing-based animation. So left one is drawing-based animation, where you need a designer specifically to help you with vectors or images. And the right one is what? Code-based animation. Correct. Perfect. So let's move along and try to understand more about the different types of animations that are used in Flutter. So on a high level, there are two types of applications. One is implicit animations and second is explicit animations. Have you heard about this concept in the past? Okay. So as the word says, explicit is when you basically provide instructions to the application explicitly on how you would like it to work, while implicit applications are something where the actions happen by its own without much instructions from the developer or waiting for the user to interact. So let's first try to understand what are implicit applications, and then we can hop on to some examples on explicit animations. In between, we'll also try to understand what are tween-based animations. So I'm going to talk about three concepts coming next. First one is implicit animations. Second is a tween builder animation, and third is explicit animations. Does that make sense to all of you? Okay. Okay, so first thing first is implicit animations. Do you mind if I just come in a minute? I'll fetch some water for myself. I'm really thirsty. I'm so sorry.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, I'll just come in a minute.
No problem, ma'am. So until Nikita ma'am comes, would any participants like to introduce themselves? Because there were many participants who joined from between.
Yes, I would like to introduce myself, Abhishek.
Sure, ma'am.
Yeah. So I'm the Renuka Kelkar. I'm from London, and I'm running the community for two moms to empower the moms who are having the 5 to 10 year gap in their career with the Flutter. So around now, I have 100 women who are started learning with me the Flutters actually. So
That's really a nice initiative, ma'am.
thank you. So there are so many girls from my community already joined this workshop, today's thing as well.
That's great. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
anyone else who would like to introduce themselves? Also, who are beginners for Flutter? We had our first event where we introduced what is Flutter, took some basic widgets, also created a single page application. You can check them out. We have the recording on the YouTube. You can search for Flutter Valsad, or maybe I would paste the link in the chat section too, so you can grab it up.
Just a quick question. This is Thomas Tang. I'm over in Singapore. Are you guys recording this by any chance, or is it something we have to take notes down?
Yes, sir, we are recording this.
Okay, great. And then you'll send up a follow-up link?
Yeah, we would quickly upload it by the end of the day on YouTube.
And I take it you guys are all in India time?
Yes. So around after 5 or 6 hours, we would upload it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us too.
Okay, I'm back. If you can hear me.
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. So let's get back to what we were discussing. I'm really sorry for the interruption, but I forgot to keep a bottle with me today. So we'll talk more about implicit animations as we move along. But I hope the concepts that was shared previously were helpful to all of you. Okay, so what are implicit animations? Have you ever heard about this concept of implicit animations and what exactly they do? Anyone? Okay, so let me take this question on behalf of all of you and try to answer my question myself. So Flutter includes a series of widgets that are animated versions of the existing widgets that are used in your app. So for example, animated container is a version of container, or animated position is a animated version of the position widget. And when you add these animation changes with the help of stateful UI, these changes are automatically loaded with the help of the widget tree. So when you basically add animation to these widgets, for example, a container, when it becomes an animated container, you add values on how you want the container to look like when the user interacts with it. So for example, there is a button that is there on the screen. The user clicks on that button. You want the container to grow from, say, size 100 to 500. So this is the transition that is seen in the application from size 100 to 500. So the container is growing, and then you basically maybe think that the container size should go back to 100 after it grows to 500 and come back to the initial size. So this is what transition from one size of the container to the next. And this is an example of implicit animations. When these changes happen, so when the container moves from size 100 to 500, the changes that you see basically is called as interpolation. This concept is called as interpolation. So what interpolation does is it takes care of the transition that happens from one stage to another. Implicit animations are easier to implement, but do not underestimate those, because they can equally add a lot of life to your application. And if you are a beginner and you're looking forward to get started with animations in Flutter, my first preference or advice to all of you would be to get started with implicit animations, and then the complexity can go on as we talk about it in the next steps. Okay, so I spoke about the theory part of it, but no conversation is complete without the code. So I have added a few code snippets. In interest of time, I have already added those so that I can explain you more about the snippets, and we spend more time in understanding the code rather than I taking time to write it. Okay, so this is a snip. This is an application where the size of the star goes from small to large and it shrinks back again. So it grows, it comes back. So now here, if you look at the code, the widget tree builds a column inside which there is an image, which is a star image. So there is a column inside which there is a container. Inside the container, there is an image, which is a star image. And what the container checks is what is the width of the image? Like, is it big or small? Is it at 100 or 500? If it is at 500, you want the image to go back to size 100. Else, you want it to go to 100, right? Vice versa. So when the user clicks on the button, what it checks is if the size of the star is big. It just has added one condition check if the size of the star is big. What is big is 500 to it. What is small is 100. It just checks these two things, and the app or the star goes from one size to another. It grows, it shrinks. It grows, it shrinks. So what is column widget over here? You have just created a placeholder inside which you have added a container. So you've created a space. Imagine a drawing page where you first decide the boundary inside which you want to add the drawing, the border space inside which you add like anything you want to add in the drawing. It can be a Christmas tree, or it can be a balloon seller, or anything. So now here what you're doing is, you say, for example, Christmas tree in that drawing book, you are changing the size from small to large. So what you first check is what is the existing size of the Christmas tree. And how do you check that is, first you press a button. The button, after the button is pressed and triggered, then this function will be triggered to check what is the size of the tree. Only when you click the button, this function of checking the size of the widget is raised. And then once it gets the size of the picture, accordingly the changes are made. So this is what an example of implicit animations. You can add duration to this animation as well. So say you want the size of the image to change every 1 second. This can happen automatically if you add some duration to it. And inside implicit animations, there are a lot of things that you can do. One example is custom curve animation. Do you all know about sine waves and cos waves? Those sawtooth kind of movements, have you all seen that? So that is also a part of implicit animations. Or this star bouncing from one place to another is again a part of implicit animation. So this mathematical formula that you see, sine in bracket count into 2 into pi, this is what maths that you're applying to this existing widget to make those transformations happen. So based on the mathematical formula that you provide, you can basically keep moving your containers or images or whatever to which you want the interaction to happen to. Cool. So did you all understand the concept of implicit animations? Yes, did you understand the code on how to write an implicit animation? Cool. So you might find a lot of existing codes on the internet where you can just copy paste and keep your application running. I'm trying to explain the functionality, or how these animations work actually in Flutter, so that you're more clear with the concepts moving forward. Okay. Second thing that we are discussing in animations is tween builder animation. So tween animation. What does the word between mean? In simple English, what does between mean? From one point to another, right? Or from one place to another. Or from one situation to another is between, right? So what I can tell you when we speak about tween animation is you provide a start point and you provide the end point as well. And in between, whatever changes happen is a part of tween builder animation. And you can add duration to it. So between how many seconds you want the changes to happen from one point to another. So say if I were to travel from Mumbai to Delhi, in between, and I want to reach Mumbai to Delhi in 2 hours. So how quickly the flight has to move, that is what tween builder animation. So in this given code snippet, the pragmatic, so I have created a class called as pragmatic widget, which is like a stateless widget. And these tween animation builder. So this is like what tween animation builder is a widget in which you can add the starting point and the end point to the given widget. And you can add motion to that given widget. So say if there was a text that I want or a counter that I want to continuously keep on incrementing in given amount of time. So say I wanted to show that 1 to 60 as a timer to keep moving on the screen in 30 seconds. Then what is the mathematical formula I apply is I want to show 60 numbers in 30 seconds, which means in 0.5 milliseconds, I want the numbers to keep changing on the screen, right? So this is the mathematics that you apply. You say that you start from 0, you end at 60. And the duration at which each number changes is 0.05 milliseconds. And here, int I is what the text which is being stored every time the new value that you are incrementing and displaying on the screen is stored in this variable I. And this variable I is printed on the screen. So that is what tween animation builder is. Did you understand what is a tween animation builder, or you need some more information around this? Okay, perfect. Okay, in case you want me to talk about this more, I'm happy to talk about it. But looks like in the chat section, many of you agreed that you understood. If not, it's completely fine if you ask me to repeat the concepts, because conceptually I want you to understand this better by the end of the session. Oh yeah, I can see someone says repeat. Okay, so I'll tell you what exactly is this tween builder animation. Say you were to move from one point from another. So say I wanted to go from my house to school. And the distance from my house to my school is 2 miles. So I have to reach school in 10 minutes and I have to cover 2 miles. Now I start walking, right? So if I had more time, I would walk slow, which means what? The frames at which I'm moving, or the rate at which I'm moving, is going to be slow. But if I were to reach early, I have to run. Why? Because I have to reach on time. So the frames at which I'm running is going to be fast, right? So same thing in tween animation. I define the start point, I define the end point, and I also define what is the duration in which I want to reach from start point to end point. And I also create a variable which will store these values which keep changing, or in every frame. So for example, if you're showing that in every frame a new image is loaded, then you store it in a variable, and this variable stores the value of every new frame that is loaded, and you print this variable, right? So what exactly happens over here is every time the variable gets a new value, which means the rate at which you are moving, it collects that value and it prints that value. And this is exactly how tween animation works. It collects the start point, it collects the end point, it collects at how much rate you want to reach, and then one person who's capturing. So say if you are recording this movement of mine from my home to school in a camera. So your camera is what? A variable which is collecting every frame at which you are moving. And then when you collect this frame, you also show it to someone on a TV screen or in a form of a photo album or something. So that is what is being printed or being shown to the audience. Did I make sense to all of you now? Did you understand it better? Perfect. Are we good to go on to the next slide? Sure. Okay. Now comes the last concept, which might be a little tricky to understand. Maybe you don't get it in the first instance, but I hope you understand this as well, because this, as complex as it is, it's going to be fun to play with this as you grow along with your journey in Flutter. Cool. So now, as we speak about explicit animations, you might have to take a decision. Does your application require explicit animations? Because they are tricky to implement, and you may have to take care of a lot of things when you're implementing explicit animations. You might have to take care of the performance. You might have to take care of the size of the code that might keep on growing as you add more complexity to the application, and stuff like that. And it's difficult to implement, or you might have to write your own code because there might be no existing widgets that are there for you which you can readily use. So check 3 things while you plan to use explicit animations. 1, does the animation stay forever? So how long this animation is going to be there? For example, some background music that keeps on going while you turn on the application. Is this animation discontinuous? What does discontinuous means is, say I draw a circle which grows, it comes back. It grows, it comes back. So the circle is not growing, but it comes back to the same point it started. And the third thing is the animation inside a nested widget? So for example, if you were to show an animation to like a block of like a lot of squares which are put one inside the other, and they keep moving or growing, shrinking, something like that, those type of animations, but all the squares are changing its size. So one widget nested inside the other, and then inside the square there are circles, and then there is a cartoon which is moving. If there is so much of complexity, then there might be no existing widget that can be used, and you might have to write your own explicit animations where you define the conditions. At what time you want the application to start, at what place you want the application to stop, what are the things that happen in between once the animation is started and once the animation is stopped. Who manages these applications? Because the complexity grows, you need a controller who can manage these applications. So there are more concepts that I'll talk to you as I explain explicit animations, but keep this condition check live with you on what are the things that you need to take care of. Is 1, does the animation stay forever? 2nd, is the animation discontinuous? And 3rd, is the animation inside a nested widget? So I'm going to talk more with code because I feel that will be easier to explain. I hope you all are okay with me sharing my code editor. I might have to present my screen again. Give me 1 minute. One sec, please. Okay. So this is my code editor. Let me start a new application. Okay, I can actually use this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you an animation of a bouncing ball where the ball keeps on bouncing from one place to another. Starting with the simplest thing first, let me just use the code snippet I already have. Okay, the only reason I'm not coding right away is because I wanted to save time in typing. But I'm happy to share these snippets with you offline if you need them. So let's try to run this application. Okay, so this is, can you see my screen? Can you see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you see this emulator where the green ball is bouncing from one point to another?
Yes, you can see.
Okay. So let me tell you about the code and what exactly did I do. First of all, do you believe that this ball is not a ball but a container which is in round shape and I have added green color to it? Can you believe that that's the beauty of Flutter, of defining a ball, and it's as easy as that? Okay, so let's come to the code part of it. Is this font visible or you want me to make it a little bigger?
Yes, can you please make it bigger so can't see it properly?
Sure. I don't know what size would work. Let me just try it. Okay, oh no. Okay, does anyone know how to do this?
Ma'am, try to use Control Plus.
No, that's not working actually.
I think zoom in maybe can help.
Ma'am, try using pinch to zoom using the trackpad. That works for me.
Okay, it's not working for me that way as well. No, I have disabled that
Okay.
actually.
In a preference, go try to editor section. Editor, yeah. General, yeah.
Nikita, I think you
Option will
might-
be in general. Yeah, fonts.
That's right.
Okay, can you see this size? Is this better?
That looks better.
Okay, do you want bigger or this is fine? Fine?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. So, when I say that, oh, sorry, this is the wrong scene. So when I say that, I want to show a bouncing ball demo, I have created it as a stateful widget. So if you remember what we spoke in the start is we needed a stateful widget. The reason being the frames at which, the screen is changing is going to build a new widget tree every time you change the frame. And that's why I use stateful widget. Now I have added a margin to the ball. So a margin of 100 is what I have added at the top. And based on this margin, the ball keeps on moving from 0 to 100, 0 to 100, and so on. So a function where I have defined changing the position with time. The margin top is what? from 0 to 100 and back to 0. So this is how it keeps bouncing from 0 to 100 and back. So when the widget tree is being built, what exactly happens on the engine side of it is this container, which is like the ball, which is green in color, it's given a given height like 40, height 40 and width is 40. So inside this space, so imagine a rectangle. In that rectangle, which is of dimension 40 by 40, you have given 100 margin as a top. So from the top of the screen at value 100, the ball will keep on moving from where it started to value 100 and comes back. So how this margin of 100 is exactly calculated is, so let me show you. This is my phone. Can you see my phone? So here is 0. From here it starts calculating the 100th position, and at this position the ball comes and stops. Again it goes back to 0. Starts, goes back to 0. And the place inside which the ball can move has space 40 by 40. So in a container which is like 40 by 40, the 100th position is calculated. So what is 100 inside that 40 by 40 dimension is calculated by Flutter. The ball will go to that degree and then come back. Did you understand this code? Anyone wants me to repeat? Okay, I'm going to repeat again because I don't see anyone saying anything. Okay, this is my phone. Okay, and inside which I have created a square or a rectangle. What is the height and width is 40 by 40. Inside this 40 by 40, I'll calculate the 100 value, 100 pixel position. Based on this position, I will move my container or this green ball from one point to another and back, one point to another and back. And this is how this bouncing effect is seen to us. Did you understand now? Okay.
So Nikita, so basically you have two containers then, right? So one for the ball and one for the outer container?
That is by default there, and you don't have to explicitly mention that to Flutter. So that is automatically received by Flutter as the application is loaded.
Okay, so basically you are giving the margin, means it already counting the margin for that small container which is having the ball, right?
Correct, correct. Okay, so let's go back to this code. So yeah, this is as simple as it shows that when you run the main function, in that main function you call this bouncing ball demo function. What this bouncing ball demo function does is it calculates, it creates a rectangle playground for itself. It calculates the margin value from 0 to 100 and it keeps moving from 0 to 100. So it just checks at what current value is this ball and then accordingly it keeps moving. Did you understand now? Okay. Oh, I will stop sharing. I'm so sorry. Okay. So we now understood what is one segment of this explicit animation, but imagine if you were to make this animation much better in terms of the experience. As of now, the animation is slow and it's easier to understand what exactly is being done, and anyone who's intelligent enough will be able to understand what exactly you did. So you're not creating that illusion effect for the user. And that is why, to improve your code base, we have something better. Let me share that snippet with all of you. Oh, I stopped sharing this screen. Just sharing my screen. I'm sorry, I forgot that I stopped sharing my screen. Okay. Can you see my screen? Okay. So now if I were to create an illusion, what would I do is I would add the direction in which I want the ball to move. I would add the margin top, which we also did previously, and I would add the starting point, the end point, and the duration during which I want this animation to happen. In all of this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to define different functions. One is setting the initial state of the container at which the container will be there as the application is loaded, or at the start by default how the container will be there, that is that green ball. Then in what direction you want this green ball to move. The third function you're going to use is the bouncing effect, like with that given direction, if the ball is there at any random value, do you want the which direction the ball should go, and that's it. So there are like three functions that we are going to use. One is initially where this ball is going to be placed. Second is in what direction you want the ball to move, that is up and down. And third is at any random location, if the ball is being stopped, where it should continue its journey. So based on the pixel value it calculates, accordingly it will get directions if we should continue going down or it should continue moving upwards. Now what we are going to do is, initially what we did was we just gave 2 points. One is the start point 0, second is 100. Now to create an illusion effect, we are going to add more points like 0 to 25 to 50 to 75 to 100. Then from 100 to 75 to 50 to 25 and 0. So what we are actually doing is we are moving from one point to another with more, like we are changing more frames this time. So in total, we are changing 4 frames. We are not calculating the starting point, but what we are calculating is 0 to 25, 25 to 50, 50 to 75, and 75 to 100. These are the 4 points that we are calculating. And we are adding a faster duration because we want these frames to move quickly, right? So what we are going to do is once the app is initialized, wherever the application is, whatever the state of the application is, we want the margin to be set at 0 and the direction should go towards downwards. And we increment the direction by 25 steps each. The app starts at 0, ends at 100, and the duration is 250 milliseconds, right? And the direction is if the margin is at the end, which means the app has reached towards the end of like the 100th value, then the ball has to go upwards. If the app is at the top already, then the ball has to go downwards. And the timer is now added to it. So basically, if the app is going downwards, then the timer is increasing. If it's going upwards, then the timer is decreasing. So all of this is basically an illusion in which the frames are changing at much faster rate. Rather than just jumping from point A to point B, you're now taking small steps. So you see more frames that are being changed and this illusion effect is created for the user. The rest at which the UI is changing and stuff like that still remains the same. Now the third thing where we are going to create more in-depth illusion effect, and this is an important concept that comes in Flutter. Last thing that I'd be explaining for the day. So I know we crossed time, but I hope it's not boring, so we can continue with this discussion. It's okay to continue with this discussion, right? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So as we were speaking, we have a few parameters. We have a few variables like margin top, the start point, the end point, and incrementer. So we create a function which is like bounce, and it's async. So what it means is whatever the state of application is, when you come to an asynchronous mode, it doesn't care about other things, but it only cares if the margin top, which means the starting point, if the starting point is lesser than the end point, which means if the position of the green ball is between from the range of 0 to 100, then you keep on increasing the margin top, which means if say you find the ball at point 25, so 25 is less than 100, and that is why you keep on increasing this margin top. So from 25 to 50 is the margin top value which is changed, right? Else cancel. So now we use this concept of interpolation that we discussed in the start, which is we define the starting point and the end point. And what is incrementing is the end point minus start point, and you change these frames at 60 per second. So when you initialize the state of the application, you define the start point, the end point, and the duration at which these frames are supposed to change. And the UI tree remains the same. So here what we are doing differently is we're trying to understand what is the place at which the ball is placed. If the ball is like going downwards, how you calculate that is by calculating the margin top. And the interpolation is what from the starting point to end point, you want these frames to change at 60 per second. And every frame basically can stay only for 16 seconds, else it keeps bouncing after that. So these are the parameters that are used. Let's try to run this application. Okay, give me 1 minute. I did some. Okay. So this application is running till then. Do you have any questions for me, or are you understanding these concepts? Okay. I just see one yes, second yes, yes. Okay, okay. Cool. I'm happy that you all are able to understand what's being shared. Till then, let's see how the application is being run.
So Nikita, I have one question. So can we do the implicit animation and twin animation together, work together? Basically, if I have one button, on that, clicking on that button, some twin animation is playing, something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. You can try that. It's up to your creativity. So feel free to experiment and see how it looks like. In fact, people have built amazing stuff with such combinations.
But I have one, means I have tried sometimes, but I have just only one question. Said that just like I am from the website web development background. So in the web development background, we have something like that on mouse over, right? The on mouse over, something has happened. So like that in the app, when I click something that let's have the my container having the increasing the opacity and decreasing the opacity, right? So on the click, when I click it, it will decrease the opacity, but it should automatically come again with its opacity rather than again double click on that button. something like this. Can we do like this as well with the Flutter?
Yeah. You can actually change the opacity, and you can add some timer to it. So say if you click on a button and then you want the opacity to keep changing, this is completely possible in Flutter.
Okay.
And there are like inbuilt widget like animated opacity and these widgets that readily provide you this functionality, so you can use them directly.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay, I don't know, I accidentally happened to do something which I was not supposed to, but my application is running. Till then I'm happy to like take some questions if you have any. Okay, it's installing now. I have created a lot of junk on my this thing code editor, and I have experimented a lot of things because I do a lot of code labs on this. And anyways, if there are questions, I'm happy to take those till then. Is Flutter working fine on Big Sur? This is my corp machine and I'm not allowed to install Big Sur on my corporate account yet. So I don't know, but it works well on my personal machine. So yeah. Yeah, I shouldn't have done that, Deepak, but I don't know, in the flow, I just did it. Okay. Okay, let's do one thing till then. Let's move on to the next topic or the next discussion till this works well. I actually killed my application abruptly, and that's why this is giving trouble. Else it loads in fraction of seconds. So pardon me for something that I did and I was not supposed to. Okay, moving on to the next topic. So if you see my screen, you see the animation complexity. So like we were discussing, we spoke about the easiest one is the implicit animation, followed by tween animation builder. Then there is foo transition, which means built-in explicit animations. For example, slide transition and stuff like that. Then animated widgets or animated builders. And the last one is custom painter. It's not recommended. Use it only if you really need to, else you might have to take care of the performance issues. Now, one thing that we also need to discuss is, instead of doing all these steps, there is something called as animated controller in Flutter that helps you manage all of these things in terms of an explicit animation. So what this explicit animation in terms of animated controller does is, controller is basically what a manager who will manage the frames at which the application is loading different widgets. So how does it understand the change in frames is with the help of something called as, anyone who wants to answer? Ticker. So what this ticker will do is, it will try to understand the current time at which the new widget was loaded, subtracted from the previous time when the widget was loaded. So this time frame it understands. It compares with the time frame duration at which you want the animation to change. It listens to these changes and provides it to the controller. So when you load an animation, it loads the initial state, which is described in the init state function by you. So all of these init state function provides collects all these so first thing is when you load an application, you load it at an initial stage, you describe that in init state. Then you add listener to this init state to understand where exactly the current state of the application is. Now, once you understand where exactly the current state of application is, you collect the state of this application in a ticker, and then based on that, this value is provided to an animation controller. This animation controller will basically check if the ticker has the right value at which the frames can be changed. If it matches to what you have described in your code, then the new frame is loaded. And once the new frame is loaded, the sticker is disposed, the controller is disposed, and again, this thing happens or works again for the new set of animation that you want to work on. So if you just have one set of, if you just have single ticker, then what this will do is it will only check with one widget, or it works with one widget. If you have multiple widgets to work on, then you can use ticker builder for multiple widgets. But if you just have a single a single animation that has to work, then accordingly you can use a single ticker provider state mixing. So as we spoke that the state of the application changes as you change the animation, this single ticker provider state mixing will do what? Change the state of the application as it listens to the changes. These changes are listened, updated, and then disposed. And all of these is also taken care by whom? An animation controller. So a lot of parameters like timing at which the animation should change, the start point, the end point comes by default with a default value in animated widget container. And you can change those. If you want to say change the animation from red to blue, you can do that. You can provide the start point that is red. You can provide the end point as blue. You can provide the start point as 0 and 100, so on and so forth. So yes, that was the last thing that I wanted to share with all of you. And yeah, I don't know if my application has loaded. No, it's still working. Okay. Oh, I'm not sharing my screen. So sorry about it. Okay. But that is towards the end of this discussion. We spoke about implicit animations, which is animated containers and other animated widgets. We spoke about Tween Builder, where the animation moves from one point to another with the given time duration that you provide. The time between which the animation moves from one point to another is called interpolation. There could be use of explicit animations as well, where you explicitly define what is the start point of the animation, what is the end point, and what is the duration at which you want the animation to play. Then there is an animated widget or an animated builder, which means an animated controller that we were discussing about right now, which has a ticker. The ticker will collect the values at which the application is currently there. There are listeners that collect the state of the application, update the UI, and then dispose the ticker value accordingly. And the hardest is custom painter, which is not recommended. And you need to take care of a lot of parameters while you're using custom painters. But interesting way to experiment code as well. So yeah, if you're interested, you can try that as well. Okay. Any questions from your side?
Yeah, the participants, if you have any questions, you can definitely ask them in chat section or unmute yourself and ask them. Not all, even if you don't have any questions in Flutter and in general any questions, you can also ask them.
Okay, no questions means I could explain the concept concept well. So I'm glad I could add clarity to the concepts. Cool. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. I know it takes efforts to join some technical conversations on a Sunday afternoon. So it's morning for a few of you, evening for a couple of you. So thank you so much for sparing time with us today. I hope you found this session meaningful and helpful and can help you build amazing applications with Flutter. My application is still loading. I don't know what exactly went wrong, but
Ma'am, we have two questions. How to track if animation impact on app performance?
It's usually like difficult to understand the compute time because changes in your application happens in milliseconds, right? That's how fast the applications work. But there are ways to measure the performance of the applications by specifically counting how much time it took to load the application and stuff like that. So that's one complexity in terms of performance. You can also calculate the code complexity and things like that. And I'm sure there are various ways to do that, and you know about it. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, ma'am, like there is another question. How powerful is Dart compared to JS?
Compared to JS in what sense? Like, what exactly would you like to compare over here? If you would add clarity to it, I can answer the question.
Krishna Kumar, would you like to unmute yourself and ask the question, or you are typing in the chat section? Okay, no, until Krishna is typing, we have another question: how to reduce the Flutter APK or IPA size?
Okay, this is an interesting question. So it totally depends on what widgets you're using and how many of them are relevant to your application. So the size of your code is like really important. Once you try to understand which widget takes more space and what could be a replacement to it, you could easily find ways to reduce the size of the application and make it a little more lighter.
Okay, great. So yeah, read somewhere that Dart compiles to native code as well as JS. Didn't get this part. Could you please explain this?
Okay, I can actually explain you how Flutter works, and maybe that helps you understand what exactly the differences between Dart and JS. What usually happens is when you run a Flutter application, it runs as a native code because it runs on the underlying engine which is there. So it compiles in the native language. So if you're running a Flutter code on Android, it compiles the code in the native language. Same with Swift. And this is how it looks like the application is actually running on the phone. But if it were a hybrid or a native, if it were a hybrid language, for example, React Native, what happens over here is the application, so there is a HTML code below to which there is a JS code. This JS code creates pipes to access the underlying components. So when you create these pipelines to access the underlying components, there could be blockages in between or bottleneck created when multiple components are being accessed at the same time. So this is where the performance of the application is little slower than compared to Flutter application, because Flutter has direct access to its underlying components, while in case of JS, it has to create a hybrid way of accessing the underlying components. Okay.
Okay, so ma'am, would you like to give some tips to our aspiring developers for Flutter?
I would say keep practicing. Nothing comes overnight. It may not work for you today, but doesn't mean it may not work for you ever. Programming is something that takes a lot of efforts and a lot of time investment from you. Uh, but keep doing or keep your efforts going, because in the end, efforts matter the most.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. Participants, do not leave. We have a quiz arranged. And, ma'am, if you have time, do stay. So, first of all, thank you so much, Nikita, ma'am, for joining us and making our event special. It was really great to interact with you and learning so many things from you. It was completely an insightful session. Once again, thank you so much, Nikita, ma'am, for joining us, supporting us, and all other communities and nourishing them.
Thank you so much, everyone, for having me today. I have to rush for something else, but really interesting and nice talking to all of you. And hope to see you and your work with Flutter in the coming days. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye bye. Okay, so guys, now we have a small quiz. I hope like everyone is familiar with Kahoot. If someone is not familiar with Kahoot, do let us know in the chat section first. Okay, cool. So I will actually quickly summarize what is Kahoot. Kahoot is basically a quiz website or app, you can say. If you, I would suggest that if you are from connected from laptop, take your phone and the questions. I would share my screen. The questions would be coming on the screen that I have shared, and four options would be there. Later on, each option would be having a color. Like if there are four options, there would be four colors: red, blue, green, yellow, likewise. And on your screen, like on the device which you are logged in, you would see only the colors. So you have to select quickly. There would be 30 seconds. The person who would quickly answer the question would get more points. Yeah, I would like do the share. I would share the link for Kahoot very quickly. Like if everyone has got how to use Kahoot, we can like start it. Is anyone there like who has still not got it? No, you don't have to download the app. I would suggest that sorry, just a second. Yeah, I would suggest that you can use the website itself. There is no need to download the app. Okay, I would share my screen. Okay, so I hope my screen is visible, right? Cool. So you have to go to www.kahoot.it and enter the game pin that is visible to you. I would suggest to keep the name as your original name. Do not keep like some funky names, because we would connect with you later for this. So please keep the original name of yours along with like if it would be great if you write your full name. Don't worry, it won't be like too hard questions. We have included all level of questions. Deepak, try to close the browser and open it once again, because like everyone would be trying on the same time. So maybe that would be problem. Also, if you wish, you can turn on your camera, because this is just a quiz. The session has been like already over. Okay, so we have 39 participants in Google Meet and 26 on Kahoot, 27. It would be really great that everyone joins. It would be really fun. Is anyone still trying to join so that we can wait? Please write in the chat section. Okay, cool. We would wait for around 1 minute more. Okay, so let's start. I will once again repeat how it is going to be. You would see the questions and options on my screen. On your screen, from where you have joined Kahoot.it, you would see the 4 colors of the option. Quickly, you have to select the color. More quickly you select the color, more points you get. I hope that's clear, right?
Yes.
Cool, cool. Okay, so should we start? Like, if anyone is still not trying out to join, if anyone is trying, please let us know in the chat section quickly. Okay, great. I think we should start. Keep your eyes on my screen and the second eye on your phone. Okay, so 16 people have answered it right. So Google was first introduced in Google Developers Day, Shanghai in 2017 as the keynote of it, like the keynote of Google Developers Day. So let's move to the next question then. Okay, so here's the scoreboard currently. Deep Gandhi is leading with 942 points. Rajiv Chandran backing him. Then we have Sachin Sandev and Brushti Shah and Heta. Great. Here's the next question. Yeah, so the first version of Flutter was named Sky. That is, Flutter 1.0 was named Sky. Later on, it was changed to Flutter. Brushti Shah is leading, taking the position of Deep Gandhi. Rajiv still conquering the second position. Here's the third question. Which rendering engine does Flutter use? Okay, the Dart compiler just compiles the code. The rendering engine, that is the widgets that we create, is rendered on your device by this Kia engine. Rush is still conquering the first position. Next we have Parth Patel, and third is Rajiv Chandran. Next question. Everything in Flutter is a Okay, everything in Flutter is a widget. Rajiv Chandran, again back to first position. Parth Patel second. Sudhir on third position. Deep on fourth. Okay, Vrushti, you can like reconnect. That's too okay. Like if you wait, then you would also able to get connected again. So, how is the quiz going? I won't move further if you don't answer. Are you like enjoying the quiz? That's great. That's great. It would be really great if you turn on your cameras too. Great, great. So let's go to the next question. Widget can be defined as a UI component. The class, we can't define widget as a class. We can say that inside a class, we define a widget. Like for example, we have the material app class. Inside that we define sometimes scaffold and likewise. Rajiv Chandan still on the first position. Sudhir on second. Parth Patel on third position. Deep Gandhi fourth, and Vrushti on fifth position. Let's go to the next question. There are mainly two desk types of widgets in Flutter. There are mainly two types of widgets in Flutter, that is stateless widget and stateful widget. I actually spoke the answer while dictating the question. Okay, so Rajiv on first position, Sudhir second, third is Parth, and fourth we have Vrushti. Deepak is the highest climber. He climbed up 6 places. That's great. A Flutter is itself a widget. True or false? True, because the starting point of Flutter app, that is material app, is a widget. Same positions. Okay. Which widget is used when you want to display widgets on top of other widgets? That's true. We use stack to display widgets one on another. Let's see the scoreboard now. Same positions. Madhura came to fifth position. Okay, you can use a dash widget to arrange widgets horizontally and a dash widget to arrange widgets vertically. Perfect. We use a row to place widgets horizontally and column for vertically. Let's see the scoreboard. Parth conquered the first position, Vrushti on second, Rajiv on third, Sudhir on fourth, and Cindy on fifth position. How many channels are there in Flutter SDK? Yes, there are 4 channels. Anyone would like to name them? You can unmute yourself and name those 4 channels. Anyone? Okay, so first is table, second beta, third is dev channel, and fourth is master channel. So if you are developing apps like Android or iOS apps, you should be on stable channel. If you are developing website, you should be on beta. If you are developing anything else, you can either be on dev or on master channel. So let's see the scoreboard. And Parth is on first, Rushti second, Rajiv on third, Ria on fourth, and Sudhir on fifth position. On which channel you need to switch if you want to create website in Flutter? I just recently answered this question. You should at least hear me. Yeah, so you should be on beta channel for specifically if you want to create website. Parth on first, Rajiv second, Sudhir third, Rushti fourth. To develop apps with Flutter, you have to use Android Studio and you cannot use any other code editor or IDE. True or false? False. You can use VS Code also. You can use IntelliJ also. It depends on you which you are comfortable with. Same positions. Omkar conquered the fifth position now. Flutter widgets are built using a modern framework that takes inspiration from it's React, because even React has widgets in it. Parth first, Rajesh second, Sudhir third, Omkar fourth, Heta fifth. By using the dash option, you can check if we need to install further dependencies. PubGet is used to when you actually import any package. PubGet would download the package into your system. It won't show if you need to install any further dependencies. Flutter Doctor, on the other hand, would show which all dependencies you required. Like if you need to accept the Android licenses or something like that, then Flutter Doctor would be responsible for showing that. Same positions. Dash class provides APIs for showing drawers, snack bars, app bars, and bottom shades. Yep, scaffold. We have app bar, snack bar, drawer, etc. in scaffold widget. Okay, Abhishek on conquered fifth position. When using a stateful widget, which method is used to re-render the widgets to apply new changes? Set state is the correct answer. So let's see the scoreboard. Same position still. Okay. There are mainly dash type of animations. There are mainly two types of animations, implicit animations and explicit animations. Same positions. Parth Patel has a streak with 12 correct answers. That's really great, Parth. Dash is a core class in Flutter's animation library which interpolates the values used to guide an animation. Animation is the right class. Animation controller is just a controller that helps you to like control all the animation, not just the implicit animations or explicit animation. You can actually control the tween animations, or if you have animated container or something like that, you can control that too. Same positions. Which animation uses a linear interpolation between a beginning and ending value? True. Twin animation uses a beginning and an ending value. So we just have 2 questions left, and the scoreboard still remains same. Rajiv, Dhruv, you need to compete with Parth to get on the top. Which animation class needs a unique tag to be given between 2 widgets for animation to work? Hero animation. Navigator is to you switch from one page to another page. Hero animation is the one that requires a unique tag to work the animation. So we have the last question now. The scoreboard still remains same. And the last question: are you in love with Flutter? This doesn't have any marks. The one who clicked no, don't come in the next event. Sorry, just joking. Yeah. So the leaderboard, Parth is on first. Second, we have Rajiv. And third, we have Dhruv Dalal. Thanks for playing. And all 3 of you, please message your email IDs to us on our social handles so that we can send out your certificates for the same. Great. Thank you so much for playing. And before we leave, please fill out I would send the certificate link, so that please fill out the form, and you will receive certificate by the end of the day. And also please turn on your camera so that we can have a quick peek with you all, quick picture with you all. I have sent the link. I sent the feedback form link. Do fill the feedback form so that you can get the certificate. Don't make any mistakes in filling out the form, because the name that you write in the form would be reflected in the certificate, and the email ID you specify, the certificate would be sent out on that email ID. Okay, it would be great, like if we have 30 participants, at least 20 of them turn on the cameras. We still want some more cameras on. Still some more. Okay, so if still anyone wants to turn on, you can turn on, or I'll take the picture. Okay, cool. So everyone please smile. And if you have any Dash or anything, you can get them. I have this. I would get a pic with this. Okay, great. Thank you so much for joining us today. Don't forget to fill out the forms, and you would receive the certificate by the end of the day. And yeah, the winners of the quiz, don't forget to message us your email IDs on the Instagram or Twitter handles, whichever you prefer. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.